If you don't have the heart of man, please don't watch this video. What you're about to watch, you will shed tears. You will cry bitterly for what you're about to see in this video. Yesterday, about 4 military bases in Borno State was totally destroyed by Islamic jihadist terrorists in Nigeria, in the alliance and the revenge of what happened in Iran. Just because the Israel and America unalive the supreme leader of Iran, these Islamic terrorists came to revenge of what happened in Iran in Nigeria. You see, this is the main reason why we keep telling you that there is nothing on this earth that will make us become one Nigeria. Why all these atrocities are still going on in this country called Nigeria. Please don't watch this video in a hurry. A lot is going on in this country called Nigeria.
Well, firstly, Israel has never said that we have nuclear weapons. That's your statement. Israel's policy has always been that we won't be the first country to introduce nuclear weapons into the region. But the issue here is not about Israel. The issue here is about Iran. Iran is the only country in the world, in the United Nations, who expressly desires to wipe another country off the face of the earth. Iran has stated its very policy is to destroy Israel, is to wipe Israel off the map, is to make sure they kill every single person. And no regime, no country that has an expressed desire to destroy Israel, and it's not only an expressed desire, we've seen over 47 years they've taken all the actions they can in order for that to happen. We've seen them sponsor terror organizations. They were behind October the 7th massacre of Hamas. We've seen them sponsoring Hezbollah. We've seen them acting in Europe. We've seen them acting in Australia. We've seen them acting in Nigeria. We've seen these people acting all across the world in order to spread disturbance, for them to try and carry out and their aim of destroying Israel. And Israel will not allow another country to have nuclear weapons when they've expressly stated they want those weapons to destroy Israel.
But Israel is not a saint to themselves, because for all the terror you say Iran has carried out, Israel has also carried out that level of terror. And by one stretch, you've gone ahead to kill the supreme leader in Iran. So Israel too is not a saint in all of this. Okay. I yield the floor to you.
That's an absurd statement to make. Nigeria is the one. Nigeria has been on the receiving end of terrorism from Iran. We've seen Iran spreading terror throughout the world. Iran sponsors all of the major terror organizations in the world. If we look at Hamas, if we look at Hezbollah, if we look at the Houthis, if we look at the terror groups within Iraq, if we look at some of the other groups around the world, we have seen Iran carry out terror bombings in Argentina, where it blew up the Jewish community there. We've seen them carry out terror attacks in Bulgaria. We've seen them carry out terror attacks in the UK. We've seen them carry out attempted attacks in Australia. This is a country that sponsors terror, that is revolutionary Guard is a prescribed terror group across all of Europe and many other countries around the world. It's quite clear that Iran is a nation, as an international sponsor of terror, and to make any other accusation or any other claim is absurd. And I would also add as one sentence, which we kind of forget, that less than 2 months ago, there were millions of people protesting against the Iranian regime, Iranians, who said, we're not happy with what's going on in the country. And the Iranian regime's response was to gun them down and to massacre them. And anywhere between 30 and 70,000 Iranians were shot dead for purely saying that they weren't happy with their government. And this is an illegitimate government.
Daniel Bwala, thank you so much for joining me on Head to Head. Nigeria is a proud, sovereign, independent nation, a powerhouse in Africa. So why did you just let Donald Trump and the United States bomb your country on Christmas Day?
The United States government did not bomb our country. The decision by the U.S. government was anchored on the intelligence sharing between Nigeria and the United States and the agreement on the operation.
So Donald Trump just didn't bomb Nigeria at his own whim?
No. the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, called our own foreign affairs minister when the decision was made that that was the time to strike, and the foreign affairs minister got in touch with the president.
So this was a joint operation, you're saying?
Yes, it was a joint operation. On the Nigerian...
What I don't understand is, how can it be a joint operation?
Yeah.
And Donald Trump says that there is a genocide going on against Christians carried out by Muslims with your government turning a blind eye.
And
You've called that narrative a hoax. You said it creates discord in Nigeria.
Right.
So when Donald Trump says he's bombing Nigeria to protect Christians from a genocide, is he lying?
We both disagree as to whether the so-called genocide in Nigeria was against Christians. We believe that it is a targeted killing by insurgents, Boko Haram bandits, and all of these criminal elements against the people of Nigeria, Christians, Muslims, and those who have not identified with any religion. Donald Trump believed it is Christians. We now felt, rather than arguing about whether it is against Christians or not, there is one area we both agree, that we have a joint interest in the fight against terrorism.
But you're fine with the fact that his motivation is something you disagree with. You think it's a hoax.
Yes, because...
So when Donald Trump says there is a genocide against Christians in Nigeria, is he telling the truth?
It is a half-truth, in the sense that, yes, Christians have been affected, but the whole truth is that both Christians, Muslims, and those who have not identified. I said the narrative of Christian genocide was a hoax.
He's pushing it.
That's his opinion. Everybody's entitled to it.
Is he right or wrong?
We believe there is a targeted killing of all Nigerians. Okay. Evidence has shown. And that is where we are focused on fighting terrorism.
So let's talk about the terrorism.
Right.
Trump claimed he targeted, quote, ISIS terrorist scum.
Right.
And every camp got decimated. But a lot of investigative reporting on the ground shows that few, if any, combatants were killed. Some bombs landed in empty fields. A local leader in one of the districts said, the same militants we knew are still there, loitering around our communities.
No, there were killings of terrorists.
That's not what local leaders are saying.
So I can call local television that testified. Arise News did, Channels Television did.
Okay.
So there was the killing of
But you're not on the
terrorists in
ground
that
with
place.
respect.
No, I didn't.
Al-Haji Bunu, who's a traditional ruler in the district, says, we saw no dead bodies, even where the bombs fell. Those are his words.
No, because the bomb didn't fall in the town. It was at the camp, that enclave, where they gathered.
Are you okay with having the Americans bomb Nigerian people's homes?
I'm not aware of that one.
You're not aware of Moriniki Saka, who said, I began to scream for help. I had to crawl my way out of the room. The missile tore through her apartment building, according to the Washington Post. How about Musa Soliu? I was in my room. I was buried under the ruins. I don't know how to restart my life. My belongings are destroyed.
Houses were not destroyed.
Are you telling us that Nigerian citizens are lying about being bombed by the US?
I am saying that the military operation that was conducted on that day was targeted as terrorists, and we hit them.
You have a history of not hitting terrorists and hitting civilians. You know that, right? Your country.
I'm not aware.
Oh, well, on December 21st, the Nigerian Air Force said that they handed over compensation to people who were hit in an accidental airstrike on Christmas Day 2024. Do you just bomb every Christmas?
When and when?
Christmas Day 2024 and Christmas Day 2025.
I dispute that fact.
We'll take it up with the Nigerian Air Force. Let me ask you this. Since President Tinubu came to office in 2023, the situation has worsened in your country. You have a mixture of militant groups, you have bandits, you have clashes between herders and farmers.
We also have
Nigeria is now
incursion of foreign interest in Nigeria.
Nigeria is now the 5th deadliest country in the world. Are you proud of that record?
I acknowledge the fact that we have insecurity in Nigeria, and until the hoax narrative of the Christian genocide, then we began to see back-to-back attack in Nigeria. We had, for the first 2 years of the president's administration, a substantial peace in Nigeria.
Actually, the number of deaths went up on the president's watch.
After this incident of a Christian genocide. And by the way,
when did that begin?
There is no country of the world today that is free from insecurity.
No,
there are parts of London you can't go in the evening.
Okay, but we're not bombing London to root out militant training camps.
But you have had so many of the bombing on behalf of the United Kingdom by the United States.
Since you're making rather spurious comparisons.
No, the context
11,000 people were killed in conflict in Nigeria in 2025. That is up from 8,700 in 2023. That is a 26% increase in the number of Nigerians killed since your party and your president came to office. That's a pretty awful record.
It's awful. And we're fighting hard day and night. That's one of the reasons why the president traveled to Turkey, where we had bilateral agreement to deal with insecurity. That's why we're cooperating with the United States of America. That's why we're cooperating with any country of the world. The reason is because since 9/11, terrorism is a global phenomenon.
Agreed.
And so every country is involved in it.
But it's getting worse in Nigeria. That's the problem.
I can't say it is getting worse.
You just agreed with me when I gave you the numbers.
No, I said
8,700 killed in 2023,
right.
11,000 killed in 2025. That's getting worse.
How many people were killed in the United States last year?
In conflict-related violence, probably.
So this is not a conflict. This is an act of terrorism.
Okay. So how many people were killed in the United States in terrorism?
Excuse me, sir.
It wasn't 11,000.
This is part of what Donald Trump many years ago in his first term classified the Western media as fake news. The reason is because context matter.
This is not Western media.
You are well aware.
This is not Western media.
Yes, I understand. But
this is the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data, ACLED, the most respected group that counts conflict-related violence around the world.
Let me ask you, where there is a terrorist
attack, I could also give you another source.
Conflict?
I mean, National Human Rights Commission. This is a Nigerian group. 2,266 people were killed by bandits or insurgents in the first half of 2025. That's more than were killed in all of 2024. You are failing. Amnesty International says you are failing at security. The numbers don't lie.
It's unfortunate, and as a government,
and it's getting worse.
We're working day and night
and
to
it's getting
deal with
worse.
that situation. I don't agree to the fact that it's getting worse.
How can it not get worse if more people die in 1 year than the previous year?
Context matters.
What's the context?
The context is not getting worse.
What?
Yes.
The context is not getting worse.
The context is that it is not getting worse because you see, this is a water, right?
Okay.
If you have the water half, you could say half glass filled or half empty.
Yeah.
Isn't it right?
Yeah.
So the Western media always see Nigeria, Africa, and some of the activities in Africa as half empty. Excuse me. But we see it as half full because when we look at it, and when I say context matter, before the president took the oath of office, we knew the situation in Nigeria.
And you made it worse.
When he made the decision to take bold step to put Nigeria in better trajectory, we were well aware of the fact that it was going to incense lots of people.
Okay.
We are also aware...
Made your point. I get the glass half full. I get the context. I also understand basic mathematics. Let me ask you this. President Tinubu only declared a national emergency in November of 2025, brought in a raft of policy changes. After Trump declared your country to be a country of particular concern for failing to deal with the threat of Christians, does your government only spring into action when it is internationally shamed into doing so?
Unfortunately for you, 6 months before that, we arrested the leaders of La Kurawa and Boko Haram. Some months before that, we killed a certain number of terrorists that the U.S. government, State Department, commended Nigeria. The U.S. Embassy celebrated the fact of the exploit of Nigeria before Donald Trump said that.
But again, he shamed you, and you declared a national emergency. You didn't do it before he shamed you.
We declared the national emergency 6 months before Donald Trump's statement.
No, that's not true.
The president
of Nigeria...
of
2025.
No. Much earlier, around, I think, April or May, the president declared national emergency on insecurity.
But the actual national emergency was in November.
How can it be actual?
People can look this up. Let's talk about kidnappings. The world remembers Chibok in 2014, when 276 schoolgirls were taken by the militant group Boko Haram. Very little has changed, unfortunately, in Nigeria. Just last November, 250 students and staff were kidnapped from St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State. 2 years into Tinubu's presidency, Nigerian research firm SBM Intelligence said, and I quote, Nigeria's kidnap for ransom crisis has consolidated into a structured, profit-seeking industry. That's embarrassing for your country that you have a kidnapping industry.
I agree with the fact that the insecurity associated with kidnapping has now become a crisis economy. But much more than that, I know of our government's effort in dealing with that insecurity. If you have a little understanding of the nature and the boundary and the geographical measurement of Nigeria and the tendency for insecurity to come in, then you will understand that we're fighting a hydra-headed insecurity situation. With respect to the kidnapping of children, the government has taken measures already. We've introduced what we call Save the School, where students and schools that are in remote places where there is no security are brought back into state capital where they get the education that they need.
But Nigerian people don't believe you. 2 out of 3 Nigerians say that
Where did
security...
you get that information?
Africa Barometer. May of 2024, 2 out of 3 Nigerians say security agencies are handling the abduction of Nigerians fairly badly or very badly. 1 in 3 Nigerians say they personally know someone who's been kidnapped.
Yeah, you have
These are stunning statistics. Amnesty, Human Rights Watch have lined up to say that you have allowed impunity to flourish, you have failed to apply lessons from previous attacks, damning indictments of your security
service. I put it to you, that's not what they said.
That's not what Amnesty said?
Yes. Amnesty...
I've literally got the quote right here.
Quote it.
The authorities' failure has allowed impunity to flourish and the killings to spread to many parts of the country.
Source.
Amnesty International, February 8th, 2026.
Well, I'm not aware of that one.
You're not aware of that one?
I am aware. I'm aware.
At the weekend, you put out a video to music of you and a team researching and prepping for this show. And yet every time I've asked you something, you say, I'm not aware of that. What were you researching in that video?
You're really funny. Let me tell you this.
A serious question. Amnesty International, you asked me for a source, I read out the source. You asked me for a date, I read out the date. What's your response other than picking up glasses of water?
No, Amnesty has a history of calling everything bad.
Okay.
I
think that's what every authoritarian government in the world has said.
What is Amnesty's report about U.S.?
Bad.
Not just bad. You didn't use the word bad. You read.
Yeah,
what
very
they
bad.
said.
Governments who do bad things, they all criticize human rights groups.
No.
Yeah, they do. I do this for a living. Let's ask about corruption before we go to our panel who are waiting patiently here. Transparency International, they say systemic corruption continues to plague the defense sector, causes a major hindrance to security. President Tinubu said in August, there is no more corruption in Nigeria. That's a ridiculous thing to say, is it not?
We investigate any case of corruption, not just in the defense, but anywhere in government. This administration has had lots of people who are in government, either sacked or investigated and being prosecuted. The resolve of our administration in dealing with corruption is obvious.
Why did he say there's no more corruption?
You probably read him out of context.
No, I didn't.
No, read exactly what he said. You're cherry picking. How can someone just stand and say there is no corruption in Nigeria?
It is getting clearer to the people. We have more money to the economy and no more corruption. Full stop, close quote.
Good. So this is the context. He was communicating to the people about the exploit we're having as a result of the decision to remove fuel subsidy. We dealt with the question of corruption in the oil industry.
And that's not what he said, but okay, he didn't say anything about the oil industry.
That's why I say context matters.
Well, you can't just make up the context. He didn't say anything about the oil industry. He said we have more money to the economy and no more corruption. In fact, he was criticizing Nigeria for this. Last question on this. How can Nigerians take Tinubu seriously on eliminating corruption when he appoints someone like Abubakar Bagudu as Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, a man who, according to the US Justice Department, with others, embezzled, misappropriated, defrauded and extorted billions with a B from the government of Nigeria under the dictator Sani Abacha. Bagudu avoided criminal charges. He cut a deal with the Nigerian government, returned some of the money. But the president literally put Nigeria's budget in the hands of a man who's accused of looting billions of dollars.
You started your introduction by saying it's a sovereign country. The decision of the court in the United States does not bind the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
But he gave $163 million. And that man is now in charge of the Nigerian budget. You're okay with that?
Do
you think it's funny? I mean,
no,
two-thirds of Nigerians...
You think it's funny?
No, I don't. I think people who are giving $163 million back shouldn't be in charge of the country's budget.
Thank you for your observation.
Okay, but do you think they should be in charge of the budget?
There's no evidence that that minister has misappropriated funds in the government of Nigeria.
Why did he give back $163 million?
To Nigeria or to the US government? To Nigeria. Why did the US government give him $100 million?
It's settlement. That's what you do in settlements.
Okay.
Why was he settling?
Yeah, so
okay. So you're comfortable with a guy who is accused by the US Justice Department of embezzling with the Sani Abacha regime billions of dollars being in charge of the budget?
Are you okay with a president of one of the countries in the world who was convicted by the courts in that land and the person is still governing the country?
Who are you referring to?
No, I'm just asking.
But which country?
Okay, are you also okay? Are you also okay?
Because if it's Donald Trump, I'm a well-known Trump supporter.
Are you also okay with the prime minister of a country who was accused of making a wrong judgment in an appointment that led to a lot of problem, but he has not resigned, he's still governing? Are you okay with that?
Well, by the time this show airs, he may have resigned. So your argument that Keir Starmer and Donald Trump, basically everyone else is corrupt. Okay. Let's go to our panel on that. I'm joined by Aisha Osori, a lawyer and writer with the Open Society Foundations. Aisha, how would you rank this government's record when it comes to security?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 1. And I think one thing that I haven't heard in the conversation so far is that since President Tinubu came into office, we have no diplomatic presence in any of the major capitals. And the reason why this is tied to insecurity, for example, let's use our borders with Chad, Niger, Cameroon. When you have no diplomatic presence in those areas, then you're not able to engage on the insecurity. We talked about kidnapping a few minutes ago. There must be a link between the atrocious amounts of money that are being raised by kidnappers. Over $1 billion in 2024, according to from ransoms. That must be what's fueling the insecurity. So there's a link between the kidnapping industry and the rising insecurity. So killing a bunch of terrorists while constantly there's a wave of terrorists coming in through the borders from Chad, from Niger, Again, another thing that's been alleged is that President Tinubu's bad handling of the coup in Niger, where he said we were going to attack them, was one of the triggers for these countries, Niger and Burkina Faso, leaving ECOWAS. I'm just saying all that is connected.
Yes. So let me bring in Tunde Doherty, who's the UK chairman of the All Progressives Congress Party, the party of the president. What is your response to Aisha when she says 1 out of 10 security rating for your country?
Definitely, what Aisha is saying, well, does not really have bearing. We have the diplomat that does fulfill the policies that of government. And in terms of the security situation we're talking about in Nigeria, it's not today's thing. And we must look at the solutions that this government has put into force. You find out that the security architecture in Nigeria has been changed. We talk about the collaboration between the government and the United States in terms of dealing with insurgencies right there and then. Because, you know, Nigerians don't manufacture most of this high-tech required equipment to deal with such situations. The president, the government, is really doing quite fantastic work in making sure that they fight these insurgents, collaborating with all factors or all countries that is ready to work with them.
Let's bring in Anu Adeoye, a journalist for the Financial Times who recently covered Nigeria and West Africa. Anu, we can't talk about insecurity without also talking about the economy and the underlying social economic issues. Is the average Nigerian both safer and better off under President Tinubu?
The obvious answer is no, right? And before I get to that, I want to talk to what Daniel said. I always find it very interesting with Nigerian government officials who cherry pick statistics about the US and the UK, but they never say how many hours of uninterrupted electricity has the United States had compared to how many Nigeria has had. They never try and find, you know, the good statistics that Nigerians don't benefit from. If you look at the poverty numbers, this is according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. More than 120 million Nigerians are living in multi-dimensional poverty. So that's not just people who lack $2 a day. That's people who can't afford food, who can't afford shelter. And even if you look at the numbers of the people who have died, right? These are wartime numbers for a country that is officially not at war. And so I think it's really, really difficult to make an argument and say, you know, things are trending in the right direction.
Casualty numbers, wrong direction. Poverty numbers, wrong direction.
Right. You know, we were very clear with the Nigerian people when the decision was made. It will bring discomfort temporarily, but the long term is what we are promising. We decided to also involve intervention mechanism in dealing with some of the hardship that the people undergo. Now, when that decision was made in May 2023, it was hellish. But as I speak to you today, the numbers, the indices, and the stats are favorable to the economic reform that we have introduced. Our foreign reserve has increased substantially. Our net import dependency went down. Our export production capacity has gone up. Our naira is strengthened. We have provided opportunities for families who could not afford to send their kids to school to access grant and go and have their education, cost of fee, tuition fee, as well as the cost of living.
You mentioned school. 20,000 schools in Nigeria have been shut in the last few months because of these kidnapping attacks.
Correct.
18 million Nigerian school children are not going to school, according to the UN. That is the highest number anywhere in the world.
Because
are you proud of that?
No, I'm not proud of that because of insecurity. But the measures we are taking now, we are restoring them back to their schools. And some of them whose schools are located in places where there are no governed spaces, we are bringing them back into towns. So when you give out your stats or your opinion about an issue, also incorporate this fact so that the viewer will look at, yes, there is an obvious fact that because of the policy decision that it brought kind of untold hardship, but also we are making progress in this regard.
So I agree with you. That's a fair point. We should look at things in the round, and you pointed out things you've done well. But then you need to do the same thing. Do you accept then that the poverty numbers are going in the wrong direction?
Yeah, sure. It's like
that's the crucial one for a lot of Nigerians.
No, but numbers don't lie.
141 million people in 2026 are going to be living in poverty in Nigeria. 62% of the population.
Then I explain to you why. Context matters.
I agree context matters. It's a failure. What you did produced 62% in poverty.
So the IMF, the World Bank, and the Brentwood, they have applauded the reform decision we took. Now, tell me one country of the world that will introduce that kind of reform and there won't be consequential effect in terms of
let me bring
even in the United Kingdom, as we speak, There's a cost of living crisis. Are you aware?
No, I'm not aware of that. Okay. Let me bring Anu back in from the FT. Is that a fair point that Daniel makes, that the IMF, the World Bank are praising what we're doing and actions have consequences?
Yeah, look, I think ultimately those reforms had to happen, right? There was chronic mismanagement at the central bank. The government before the Tinubu government was an APC government. So it's the same party. So, there's only so much blame they can pass around. Yes. This fuel subsidy, you had to do something. It was riddled with corruption. But then the other part of that argument is doing those reforms should not be the end goal. It should only be the starting point. What you need ultimately is foreign direct investment in Nigeria. You need people to bring money into Nigeria to invest long term.
Propose foreign direct investment in Nigeria.
Let me bring in Tunde. Tunde, Anu makes the point, it's all APC governments. So you can't really blame previous government. This is all your party has presided over the situation in Nigeria. Do you
Definitely. That's why you have a president that is economically reliable to put the economy in the right trajectory. This is the first time you see people rushing to come and invest in Nigeria because of the key economic reshaping surgery that is taking place in Nigeria. So you can tell that Nigeria of yesterday is not Nigeria of today.
We have to go to the break, but last word to Aisha.
I think it's telling that we're talking about IMF and World Bank as if their approval is sort of a good thing. When we talk about the fact that we live in a neoliberal world, yes, and we're talking about the same institutions that made forced structural adjustment programs down the throats of so many countries in Africa, yep, Asia, and Latin America, we shouldn't be praising the fact that they think these reforms are good. But I put that aside. What do the average Nigerians think about their lives? All that seems to matter to the Tinubu administration and past ones is the approval of the West. And I think this conversation between you and Daniel bears that out. It's what the US says, it's what the IMF says, it's not what Nigerians say.
Okay, so you see, you praise. Just 1 second.
We're going to go to the break.
That's excellent. Yes, excellent.
Now that you have seen the full clip, what did you just see? Can this country keep remaining one while lives are being destroyed in daily basis? The answer is no. The only solution left is total disintegration. Yes, till Danke don't come, this country have been in this mess till this very moment. So how long shall we continue condone this evil? The only solution left is total disintegration. Let every part go on her separate way. In doing, it is only that will bring a lasting peace in this particular geographic area called Nigeria. So my people, I come in peace. If you love what I do in this Global Love Channel TV, please don't hesitate to touch a hand for subscribe button, like and turn on the notification bell. Then whenever we upload a new video like this, you'll be the first person to be notified. And in doing that, you are encouraging us to do more because togetherness, we shall save life together. Africa life matters. Whenever you see something, always say something because an injustice for one remains an injustice for all. Till next time, see you in my next video. Bye for now. Thank you.